Mm-hmm. We live. We back again. Live on this thing. All black everything. This is the Freedom Edition. Got the Tavistock still. Coming right back where we left off. Getting into it. Like it, share, subscribe it, thumbs it, push it up, like it, hitchhiking. You know how we do. I do not own the rights to this music. This is the King Miles Davis. Peace and love to the King Miles Davis. We just vibing like we do. And we ended, but we gonna begin with what is less generally acknowledged is that the plan came with strings attached. America made explicit requirements for the trade liberalization and increases in productivity, thus ensuring the Americanization of Europe as European political and economic elites became wedded to their American counterparts, with no significant economic or political development taking place without U.S. approval. Between the years 1948 and 1951, when the Marshall Plan was formally in operation, Congress appropriated 13.3 billion in aid to 16 Western European states. This credit was used to buy up European industry and the European working class extremely cheaply. As Mike Peters writes in the Bilderberg Group and the Projects of European Unification, this unprecedented exercise of international generosity, dubbed by Churchill the most sordid act in history, served direct economic purpose for the internationally oriented U.S. corporations which promoted it. End quote. Guy Bird described the hidden aspects of the plan in his book, The Color of Truth, on the Bundy brothers. In 1949, McGeorge Bundy, former Ford Foundation president, took on a project with the Council on Foreign Relations to study Marshall Plan aid to the Europe. The Council's study group included some of the foreign policy establishment's leading figures. Working with young Bundy were Dulles, my bad, yeah. Alan Dulles, future CIA director, Dwight Eisenhower, future U.S. president, George Kennan, a key ideologue of the Cold War, Richard M. Bissell, and Franklin A. Lindsay. Dulles, Bissell, and Lindsay would shortly become high-ranking officials of the newly formed Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA. Their meetings were considered so sensitive that the usual off-the-record transcript was not distributed to council members. There was good reason for secrecy. Participants were privy to the highly classified fact that there was a covert side to the Marshall Plan. Specifically, the CIA was tapping into $200 million a year in local currency counterpart funds contributed by the recipients of the Marshall Plan. And these unvouchered monies were being used by the CIA to finance anti-communist electoral activities in France and Italy, and to support sympathetic journalists, labor unions, leaders, and politicians. End quote. The origins of the Marshall Plan are in Hoffman was the leading economist for Committee for Economist Development, one of the Rockefeller-controlled organizations. The MD devised some of the essential work for the Marshall Plan to loot Europe. Before this outright takeover began in 1940, psychological softening up was conducted against the European working class, including starvation. In Germany, daily per capita consumption of calories fell to 1,300. Furthermore, the American military government a systematic error campaign began with Grecian death squads roaming Germany and part of the same operation was the select procedure conducted by Rician psychologists to weed out most of the loyal of Europe. Workers rendered desperate, capitalists starved for credits, rulers already chosen, the Marshall Plan machine for reconstruction that is outright looting began in 1948. To guarantee that no trouble would come from the labor movement, the intelligence service, the CIA, the State Department, along with Tavistock Institute, gathered key unionists to carry out the Rockefeller plan of reshaping and taking control over section of European labor movement. These key unionists were heavily recruited from the National Labor Relations Board, a Rockefeller corporate brainchild run by his loyal lapdog Arthur Goldberg. Quote, Goldberg was working on the Social Democrats within the European labor movement. He was funneling OSS CIA precursor funds into the Social Democratic wing of the clandestine French Federation of Labor, preparing arrangements that would help U.S. intelligence take over the French movement after the war, end quote. See all this covert secrecy going on with these folks. Tavistock Institute, this is all black everything. We coming back right where we left off. Y'all come on back. Appreciate your support, love it, like it, share it, subscribe it. All black everything. This is knowledge for everyone right here. Peace and love. Thumbs it up like you're hitchhiking. Let's go.